sometimes it'll be just a thought that just pops inside of my mind so strong, and I know that the thought didn't originate with me. It just kind of it's kind of a thought that met my consciousness halfway. You know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like. And that happened to me yesterday. Yesterday I complained to you guys about some people taking a little more from that curbside library pantry than they ought to. And the way my ancestor who answered that worry humbled me, because they said, how is it that you can understand as a conscious, somewhat woke person, that Black people have the least amount of resources, but you don't understand how traumatizing that can be and how trauma can play out in that regard? Now, mind you, this isn't me saying that it is okay for some people to be selfish and only think of themselves. Of course, we're always going to have those types of people. But what I'm saying is, if you think about it deeper, like my ancestor forced me to do, poverty is a traumatizing experience. Growing up in households and homes that never seem to have enough is traumatizing. And I know a lot of Black people who grew up never having enough. And that trauma, like one of my other followers said, people are led by their trauma. And that trauma plays out. So when we when we think about the way Black people do the things that they do, like how their cars are nicer than their homes, or how they will invest more in a car that, how they're willing to drive a car with a car note, a $1,200 car note every month. Because that is what poverty will do to you, never having had the, access to the nicer things in life, or never having had access to enough of something like food. And mind you, I'm not saying that it is right that they take more than they should. It's not right. But sometimes we have to think deeper in order to give people grace. Because when they are traumatized by poverty, that trauma will cause them to exploit a resource like the community curbside and library, where they think there's no oversight here. I can just grab a bag and take as much as I want of something. And that's a reason why a lot of us do what they do the things that we do. We are trauma led. So I thought about it, and like I said, in this new pantry, there is a way for me to mount a camera, so I can mount a camera, one that I can communicate back and forth through if I need to do that. And the motion sensor will go off if I need to take it that way. And also too, I was reminded by my ancestor that it's not like they're taking all of a resource. Because where they might see 3 things of laundry detergent and decide to take it all, there's more inside. Same with something like Spam, same with Kool-Aid jammers, there's more inside. And you all are great about sending more. So, and I said that I didn't want to micromanage, and I won't. But I still have an issue with whatever was said to those kids to make those kids leave. That I still have an issue with. So what will solve that is the camera, because I can remind them that this is a resource that they are welcome to too. And so if I have to check and embarrass them at that point, I will. But in the meantime, in between time, we do have to show people some grace and understand that they are, in fact, led by their trauma, and that it's not always, sometimes what may look like selfishness and greed isn't really actually that. There are things that cause people to move that way, and being poor and not having enough will cause people to move like that, and we have to be understanding of that. And I have to just keep doing what I've been doing, because again, it's not like they clearing out all of anything. They just clearing out what they see. I am great at knowing which items I can't put too much of out there, and just making sure. So if they take all of the dog food, it's no big deal. If they take all the cat food, it's no big deal. There's more. You see what I'm saying? So I know some of you all got upset about that too, but my ancestor reminded me to think deeper. And so this is me sharing that messaging. Okay. Also too, a few blocks from me is Trump territory. And when I tell you those Trump signs are all on the lawn today, the closer it gets to this election, let me tell you, black folks, take your ass to the polls. And you know what? It's not just on TikTok. A lot of people would like for you to think that a lot of these young black men who have, for whatever reason, they are fascinated by and are voting for Trump and are, voting themselves back into oppression. They're in our neighborhoods. It's a young black man on the block over with a Trump van sign in his yard. And when I say younger, I say, mid-30s to early 40s. And then when we went to the state fair last Wednesday, Trump Vance had I don't know what it was. It was some kind of recruitment thing there at the state fair. And it's not surprising that it was allowed, because this is a red state and South Carolina is in full support of Trump. This is a red racist state. And y'all that live in blue states like, Michigan and, in California, and y'all have to, where y'all are getting the benefit of seeing all of these Harris Walt signs in a state like this, you have to remind yourself that the red states, they are not playing. And listen, we do have a significant amount of influence over what our relatives and acquaintances do. Because let me tell you, those of you all who next month you're getting ready to have Thanksgiving dinner and you're prepping for that, because black folks, y'all love Thanksgiving. Even though y'all screaming free Palestine, y'all crying over that. I give a version of the speech every year. And last year I gave this version of the speech where it just kind of tickles me to no end to see black people crying their eyes out over what's going on in Palestine, but turned right around and celebrated Thanksgiving. And me, I'm just looking at y'all like, oh. That's when, people that just hopped on the bandwagon and they don't really believe what they say that they believe. Because if you really believe what you said you believed, wouldn't all genocides fuck with you in the same way? Wouldn't they all affect your spirit the same way? But whatever. But if you're sitting down with your family members and they sitting at your table, first off, anybody that lived in a house where I was paying the mortgage and the property tax, you're going to have to go vote. Y'all are dead ass wrong if y'all got sons and daughters and nieces and nephews and grands sitting up in y'all house and they forego this vote. You're dead wrong for that. Because if you want to live in this house, you're going to take your ass to the polls. Bet money on that. Or if you're going to sit on this table, at this table on Thanksgiving, especially not having kicked in on so much as a roll, a dinner roll, and you didn't vote. The way I would make that so uncomfortable for a person in the room with me, I remember back in 2008, my bestie and I, that was when Obama won in 2008, his first term. And I remember I went over her house after work and we sat there and she had two friends over. I forget what their names were, but I know they were a couple, a guy and a woman, and they had a couple kids too. And we were talking about voting, and, you know, she and I were both so vocal about it. And I noticed they weren't really saying anything. So fuck it, I asked them. You know, I didn't really know them, but I asked them. I said, did y'all vote today? And they said no. I said, we have an excellent Democratic candidate running who's a black man and has a real shot at winning. And y'all didn't go vote. The way I filleted their ass, I cut into them so hard, Christina had to tell me to back off. And they didn't say anything. When I tell you the way I cut into them and shamed them, and that's the way, and they should have been shamed. They should have deeply, deeply been ashamed. You're going to get black people that are going to say things to you like, because I get these types of black people all the time. Voting never helped us. Voting don't do this. Voting don't do that. And, you know, I used to waste my breath and time trying to educate those black folks, but not anymore, because we got Google, and Google is your friend. And at this point, if you don't know, if you don't understand that your vote is your voice, and that one of the reasons why black people have not gone as far as we could have gone as a collective is because we don't vote in state and local elections. A lot of us not showing up even at the general elections. And then we want to complain about shit like potholes and shit in schools and the sheriffs. We want to complain about the police. We want to complain. We want to complain and complain and complain. And we don't vote in state and local elections. We don't do those turnouts. But you know who do? White folks do. And that's how they keep a monopoly on power in a red state. Because in a state like South Carolina, well, let me tell you, we're definitely not leading in education here. By any means. But these white folks, they smart enough to vote in every election. Which is why they keep the monopoly on racism, on not sharing resources with the black community. If your vote doesn't matter, why are they always trying to steal it from you? I mean, if it just don't matter, why are they always trying to steal it from you? I can't even talk to black folks like that anymore. But if you think that Trump is not getting through to young black folks, we are not talking to our kids enough. We are not talking to our grandkids enough. We are not talking to our nieces and our nephews enough. We are not having enough conversations with them. If he is able to convince them with a couple of stimulus checks that he is on their side, despite his racist ass history, where they don't care nothing about the exonerated five. They don't care nothing about him keeping black folks out of his apartments. They don't care anything about what he has said about handicapped people, what he has said about mentally ill people, what he has said about women. They don't care anything about his 34 convictions. They don't have anything to say about the harm he has done to little girls, underage girls. And all they care about is that stimmy. Us older black folks have failed them. And that's just the truth. That is really just the truth. We have failed. We have. Get your people to the polls, because all I can tell you about is South Carolina, and these racist white folks are not playing. They are not playing. That's all I have for today. If you would like to contribute to our curbside library and pantry, that effort, I'll leave the link below. If you just like to buy me a cup of coffee or support the platform, I'll leave my Cash App and Venmo in the comments. You all have a great day. Think on what I said. Get to the polls. We're actually voting early next Wednesday, in person here. Talk to your people. Shame them if you must. Because if you are living in black skin and think that this man has anything for you other than oppression, marginalization, something's wrong. Have a day.